Good afternoon. This is Jason Flame, host of the Master Motivation Podcast, where I get to interview some inspirational and motivational leaders. And I am so excited that today, on this Labor Day, September 4th, 2023, we have Mr. Jesse Cruz. Jesse is the CEO of Merge Worldwide. He is a speaker development coach, award-winning speaker, and hosts transformational events for entrepreneurs all over the world. Jesse, it's been a long time coming. We booked this almost a year ago, and here we are. Happy to have you today. How's everything going?
It's going well. I have a feeling, Jason, it was worth the wait. I'm glad to be here.
Well, I definitely know that it was worth the wait for me because I can't wait to tell everybody all about your story and what great things that you're doing out in the world. Now, the first question I want to ask is talk to me a little bit about your motivation for what you're currently working on and what's in the works for you.
Yeah, the motivation for me is I want to make sure I'm being the example in my home first. If I'm going to tell my wife, I'm going to tell my daughters to go after your dreams and to make your dreams come true, then I need to set the example because if I'm telling them to go reach for the stars and I'm not reaching for the stars, they're just going to look at me like I'm a hypocrite. So
Mm-hmm.
it starts with me.
I love that. I love it. Hey, and quick shout out to Daniel Groff watching us from Insurance Brokers West, one of our partners and sponsors for the podcast. So thanks for watching, Daniel. That's amazing, Jesse, to be the leader and to be the example for your family and for your loved ones. I mean, if you're a leader and you're asking other people to do what you're not doing, like you said, you are a hypocrite, and it's so much easier for people to see the example and duplicate that example when you could be that person. So, tell me a little bit more about your history and your background, maybe even your childhood. Give us a glimpse into your life growing up.
Yeah, growing up, did not grow up with any type of financial means, growing up in poverty, knowing that I was created and destined for more. I just didn't know how to go get it. I graduated high school, just barely had a learning disability I was diagnosed with, especially when it comes to processing words and language, which ironically, that's what I get paid to do now is to help people with their words. So
Mm-hmm.
interesting how that works out. I joined the military, was in there for about 4 years, got out and got married, and my wife and I are building this business and having our daughters do it with us. So we're getting paid to travel the world, speak on stages, and coach other people on how to share their story effectively.
That's awesome. Well, as you can see, I'm looking down and I'm writing notes because there's several things that I want to dive in a little bit deeper so people can, again, grab a little bit of inspiration, motivation, maybe some education, all in the same token. So you grew up in poverty, right? I myself grew up in a time where grew up in the 80s. My father was in construction. He was a roofer. He was a landscaper. Went on to build custom homes. And anybody that knows the construction business, it can be either really good or really bad. And there were definitely some times where we had some help. The powdered milk, the block cheese, the receiving manna from local community. A lot of people don't know that about me, but I grew up in some pretty rough times. But there was also some times, on the other hand, where my friends would make fun of me because it'd be like Labor Day and my dad would go buy like a quad or a dune buggy or something and be like, oh, well, what's the holiday gift this time? It's like when money was good, dad spent the money and got toys. When things were not good, man, it was really tough. So what was your experience growing up in a lower income level, poverty, as you mentioned?
We didn't have too much. I mean, I had a basketball hoop. That's pretty much all I needed. I had a basketball hoop and some video games. That's pretty much kept me busy. A bicycle. That's about the monetary, really nice things that I had. So it wasn't much, but for me, it was enough.
Yeah. Hey, when we were kids, man, riding our bikes was the thing, right? Going out and making ramps and making little we would make obstacles. I grew up again in the 80s. There's this movie Rad. Do you remember the movie Rad? Might be a little
I don't think
younger
I've
than
seen
me,
it.
but this was a movie about a kid that came from a lower income level, and his goal was to become this BMX racer, and he would ride through, all these jumps and all the track. He would make his own track. I mean, that's kind of what we did to keep ourselves occupied. And then having my dad be in construction, we kind of knew how to build things. So like building forts was like, a fun time. So that's kind of cool. We all had our bikes and we all did our thing when we were younger. You talked about having a learning disability. When did you realize that you had this learning disability, and how did it affect you growing up through childhood and into your adult years?
Yeah, it was my high school years. I had a really struggle with reading, writing, processing words. Um, Probably contributed to some of my struggles in school. However, I also wasn't interested in school. So, I mean, when someone's not interested, um, everything feels like a learning disability if you have no interest in something. So,
Mm-hmm.
ironically enough, writing multiple books from having a struggle with processing words. It's just interesting to see how once I was put into an environment where I felt like I could really be creative and use my gifts my own way rather than someone telling me how I have to do every single thing. It's interesting enough to see how my perspectives changed about all that.
Mm-hmm. Now, in high school or in grade school, did you ever have a teacher that was influential, or did you ever have a teacher that kind of, took you under their wing a little bit and tried to help you? Or do you feel like maybe you just kind of, you slid under the radar and kind of got through school without that influence?
I had a teacher who set me straight one day. I was not only was I not a good student, I wasn't probably a great person to have in class. I was disrespectful. I was distracting, didn't listen, didn't pay attention. And the teacher pulled me aside one day and set me straight. But the way that he did it, I really respected it and admired it. And like it was so interesting because from like that day forward, and I was really out of control in this class. But from that day forward, I never had one issue with him ever again.
Hmm. So this person kind of stepped in, like you said, set you straight. What was it exactly that really drove his point home, and what really resonated with you that made you think, okay, maybe there's something here. I have respect for this teacher.
Yeah, I mean, I was used to, teachers just kicking me out of class or giving me detention or just, putting me down in front of the class.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, you know what, Jesse? He stopped his whole lesson. He said, come out to the hallway with me. And I was like, okay. Went out to the hallway. He left his class unsupervised, unattended, just so he could give me some one-on-one attention just for a moment. Just
Mm-hmm.
to let me know that he sees a lot of great things in me, but I'm getting easily distracted. It's making it difficult for him to teach and for the students to learn. And he expected better out of me. I was just like, whoa. And literally from that moment forward, he became my favorite teacher. It was just so crazy how it all worked out.
Yeah. Well, isn't it amazing too when you have a teacher, number one, that takes enough of an interest to pull you aside that way, take a moment with you, but also to see in you that they expect more. They know you have more. He expects more, sees some greatness in you, sees more potential in you, and lets you know that. I mean, it's quite often that teachers don't get that opportunity or don't even take the time. Have you had a chance to pay this forward? Have you had a chance to maybe give this back to somebody else?
Yeah, I have been blessed with the opportunity to, work with a lot of kids over the years and see some of myself in them and just love on them and understand that they need support. Sometimes it's attention, sometimes it's for them to just be understood. We don't know exactly what everyone's going through, and
Hmm.
now I get to do that in business too because when people come to me with certain traumas and trials that they've had in their life, but they never felt seen, never felt heard, they never felt connected to people. And it's creating that safe environment for entrepreneurs to come together to understand that this is a safe place for you to share what's going on in your life.
Hmm. And isn't that an amazing feeling to feel connected within a group of people or your peers, knowing that like you said, you're seen, you're heard, you're understood. Because you're right, everybody's going through something, and we all have our tough times, and just having people to really be there and understand and support us and lift us up and raise us up and help take us to the next level. Now, from high school, you talked about going into the military. Did you have any plans, goals, or any idea of going to college or having a particular career?
I did not. I made the decision to join the military out of desperation.
Hmm.
I was looking around some of my friends, dropping out of school, getting into drugs, getting arrested, not doing anything with their lives. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't even want to know what kind of person I'm going to become, but I just know staying right here is not it. So I
Hmm.
just joined the military as to try to find something other than what I was already doing to make a
Hmm.
difference. And that's what I decided to do.
Yeah. Did you was college ever really an option, or was college ever something that was, promoted to you, whether it was your teachers, your parents? Was that ever an option or a goal?
It wasn't, however, one of the teachers I had talked to my mom and said, "Hey, just want to let you know I don't think college is in your son's future."
Hmm.
Like they straight told my mom like doesn't have what it takes. He doesn't have the intelligence. He's not going to flourish in a college environment. Now, college was never on my radar anyways, but when I joined the military, I got the benefit of getting education taken care of for me. So I was like, well, I mean, if they're going to take care of my college, I might as well go. So that was only my reason for going, was that I didn't have to pay for college. So I decided to go.
Hmm.
And then my mom ended up telling me that story later on after I graduated college with honors.
Wow. Well, good for you. I mean, could you imagine hearing that and how that could have potentially affected you in a negative way? So mom kind of protected you on that one by keeping that information till later, right?
Yeah,
So I got to ask, what part of the country? Where did you grow up?
Rochester, New York.
Okay, and you still currently live in New York?
Yeah.
So what's the New York life like? I'm in California, right? Complete opposite end of the country. But what is your take on the New York life?
Well, I get the opportunity. I mean, although I live in New York State, I get the opportunity to travel all over the country and internationally to build relationships with entrepreneurs, right?
Hmm.
And so, like, we just had our retreat in Italy a couple months ago. We just got back, and now we're preparing for our next one in Niagara Falls, Canada. And so, New York has allowed me to living here has allowed me to travel to many different areas in the world to create environments for entrepreneurs to thrive with their story.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we're definitely going to talk a little bit more about that in just a bit. Your coaching, your speaking, and traveling the country. Tell me more about the military. So you went to the military more or less out of desperation, didn't have a plan. But what did the military provide you with, other than the education you just spoke about? What other benefits did you take from serving in the military?
I would say the benefit of diversity of friendships.
Mm.
I became friends with people from all different backgrounds, all different parts of the world. And I think that's what possibly planted the seed of me wanting to be in different parts of the world and meet all different kinds of people. And that was such a blessing to have, is to know that the differences that a lot of times the world tries to say is tearing this world apart, for me, it actually brought us together. And I love to find the beauty in the differences that we have as people.
Hmm. Wow. That's, a lot of people would talk about, the discipline. A lot of people would talk about, the work ethic, but you're talking about something on a much deeper level, which has really created the work that you do now and move forward in the world with your company, Merge Worldwide, which again, we'll talk about in just a minute. But tell me, after high school, you went to the military. What came next?
Yeah, what came after that? I went to college after the military, got out of college, worked at a nonprofit helping youth. And from there, with my wife, we knew that we wanted to do something different and make more of an impact. And I looked at my wife, I wrote my first book in, I think, 2019. And it was during the pandemic. I said, "Hey, I got a great idea." And she's like, "What's that?" I said, "Well, I think we're going to host live in-person events." And she looks at me like she wants to smack me in the back of the head for my stupidity. And she's like, "Jesse, we can't even meet with people in public. It's quite literally not even allowed." And I was like, "Well, I know, but there's a restaurant down the street called Champs. They serve food. And because they serve food, they have to let us in. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into that restaurant and we're going to invite some people to join us at the dinner table and we're going to talk business." She's like, "I don't know what this is about, but sure, let's do it." And we hosted our first event during the pandemic around a dinner table at a restaurant. I've been doing one ever since.
Wow. What changed your I don't want to say what changed your mind, but you were working with youth in a nonprofit, and now you transitioned into working with entrepreneurs and business owners, right? About business. What was that change? What did you do with the youth with the nonprofit organization, and what was the change?
Well, the change came from a tragedy. My wife and I, we had a child who was born prematurely. She was 4 months early. She was only 1 pound. She could fit in the palm of my hand. And every single moment in the hospital, we never knew what happened next. And then 42 days of her fighting for her life, she passed away. And it's because of this girl, this little 1 pound girl that nobody's ever met before, who fought so hard every single day, changed my life forever. And I realized if this little 1 pound girl can cause this ripple effect of impact and change within me, and imagine what we as full grown, healthy adults could do if we keep fighting. Because that's what she taught me. She taught me to live for more. Our time is very limited. And I didn't want to play it safe anymore. I really wanted to put myself out there and share my gifts with the world rather than hiding them.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. That you know, I have two children myself, and having gone through that, you just it sticks with you, right? Like you're living through this feeling a lot. I can tell in the emotion too as you speak, just the power in that not just that moment, but that experience overall. So what were the gifts that you wanted to share with the world?
So for me, it was the gift of sharing my story, writing and speaking. It's interesting enough that although I knew that I had a struggle with processing the words, but when it came down to writing something that I was interested in, how that seemed to just go away. And the very thing that used to hold me back was now the thing pushing me forward. And what helped me get through the most traumatic time in my life was a variety of things, but writing was one of the main things. And every time I would write, I feel a sense of freedom and peace. It became like my therapy. I started to heal. And I knew that if writing could help heal me, I knew it could do the same for other people. Writing day after day, that turned into a book. And then the book turned into people wanting me to speak. And
Mm,
it just continued to grow and to transition to impacting people through sharing your story.
yeah. Tell me more about this book. When you started writing, what were you writing about? What is the book about?
So the very first book that I wrote, it's called Live Your Dash. Like the dash you see on a tombstone. The date you're born is on the left, the day you pass away is on the right, and that dash is what you do with the time that you have in the middle. And it can go by so quickly in the blink of an eye. And I realized that I wasn't really living my dash, that I was just kind of existing. And I wasn't intentional, I wasn't purposeful, I wasn't utilizing the gifts I've been given. And she revealed to me, my daughter, that I need to really go for it. And that book, as I was writing it every single day, I was like, there's 8 different areas in my life that if I was intentional about, then I can live a life of meaning and purpose. And that's what I wrote every single day was these 8 different areas about my life that helped me to realize that, man, when a person takes the time to be intentional about these 8 specific areas, their life will drastically change.
So you got to tell us, what are these 8 areas?
Absolutely. So it's focus, fun, finance, fitness, friendship, family, faith, forgiveness. The eight
No
F's.
coincidence. No coincidence that they're all F's. Can you tell me one more time so I can write those down?
Fun, focus, finance, fitness, family, friendship, faith, forgiveness. The name of the book is Live Your Dash. Subtitle is Discovering the 8 F's to Freedom.
I love it. I love it. And why those 8? What when you sat down to pick these 8, what was specific about each one of those things?
I don't feel like I picked them. I feel like they were chosen for me. I just feel like it was something that was revealed to me. I was in a lot of prayer and a lot of focus and a lot of time alone. And it was like the first time in my life I didn't have to think. Like it just flowed so naturally for me. And it was just a blessing. It had to be from a greater power than myself, because I'm like, I'm not that smart to come up with these 8 things. I'm just not that bright. But, with the spiritual guidance, then I had the opportunity to have those 8 areas revealed to me through my grieving process.
I love it. I love it. Can we walk through each one of those 8 topics and just tell me a little bit about your thoughts and just a glimpse into what you wrote about? So let's talk about fun.
Fun is the thing that adults lack, I think, the most. I think there's a certain time in their life when we're children, fun is like a core value. It's a priority. And adulthood sucks the life out of that. Responsibilities and expectations from society rob us of joy. And I believe that one of the greatest ways to have an experience of peace in your life and to do well in life is to actually enjoy what you're doing. And that's why I believe fun needs to be a priority for everybody.
Yeah, having taught martial arts for more than half of my life now at this point, I've been teaching young children ages 3 and up, and children learn through fun, right? I mean, by having fun, it makes the learning experience not only enjoyable, but it just kind of sticks. And it's funny because my son, who is 18 now, used to always say when he was younger, "Oh, it's just not fun." So I would try to always make something a game to make it fun, but still learning at the same time. And it was like, boom, there's a complete shift there right away. So I love that we talked about this. Let's talk about focus.
Yeah, I believe where your focus goes, your energy flows. And I think if you're not able to focus on anything, you try to focus on everything and you end up
Mm-hmm.
doing nothing. And it's just finding the couple things in your life that you want to put your energy, your effort, and your time into. Because truthfully, whatever you think about, because I think a lot of focus comes down to your ability to think, and wherever you put your focus on is something that'll be magnified. And that's for good or for bad. You focus on negative things, more likely to feel negative and do negative things. And it's the same with positive. And if people were intent about choosing which thoughts and choosing which feelings that they most desire that are empowering rather than disempowering, they'd be amazed at what they could accomplish and become if they remain focused.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I currently am working through a transformation program to, dial in my eating again and get my fitness back on track. And, I almost get so laser focused that it kind of consumes me, so that like every day, this is the direction I'm going. It keeps me focused on my goals, keeps me focused on my health, keeps me focused on my workouts. And, just having that personality of like what I focus on. Cause I was focused on, I kind of like to go out and kind of like to eat, but I wasn't focused on the health part, and it really changed. Let's talk about finances. It's something that, a lot of people don't really like to talk about, but let's talk about finances and what you
It's
mentioned
funny.
in this book.
Jason, that's the problem. No one want to talk about it, but they'll
Yeah.
go to work every day for it, but don't want to talk about it. And to me, it's like they just have a very dysfunctional relationship with money. Money is just energy. It's just a tool. It's just an exchange of value for one thing for another. That's all it is. And a lot of times I know that I've struggled because I grew up in poverty. I always thought that there was always lack. There's never enough, causing
Hmm.
more stress, anxiety, and worry about money, not realizing that money is all around us. And as long as we take the gifts and skills and talents that we've been given, find a way to serve people with them, then money is no longer a scarce resource, it's abundant. But it's all about the relationship and how we look at money. Because if you always, especially this is one thing I've noticed a lot too, is if you believe that rich people are bad and they're greedy and they're evil and they're liars and they're thieves and they're crooks, then your chance of ever becoming rich is almost zero because you cannot become what you hate.
Hmm.
And if most people always want more money, but do they really? Because they realize if you had more money, you might become rich, and rich people are bad, and I don't want to become them. So we self sabotage and keep ourselves in poverty.
Wow, that's a, you said money is energy. I've always said that, food is fuel, right? But then you said money is energy, and I just kind of put those two things together. And when I look at when I eat, I'm eating to have energy to work out, go through my day, be positive. And when you look at money the same way, as a means to an end, to help you, to serve, to help you, to give back, to help you provide, I think that's a great way to look at it. The next one you talked about was fitness. And, in my industry, I'm all about the fitness. So I want to hear about this one.
For sure. I've noticed that I've never regretted a time I worked out.
Mhm.
So that tells me so I went and worked out today. I did not want to work out today. I'm like, it's Labor Day. I'm just chilling at home. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And then I went and I was like, I'm so thankful I did. And it just goes to show you that things that are good for you sometimes are also very challenging to do. But once you do them, how it changes your life. And fitness is the great test of consistency. And I've noticed that the more I work out, the better I show up for people. When I don't work out for days or even weeks at a time, I'm not the same person to be around.
Hmm.
I'm just not. My energy isn't right. My mood is down. I just don't have the best kind of energy to radiate to people when I'm not engaging in fitness. And
Hmm.
so fitness absolutely needs to be a priority. It's not only about getting stronger and getting healthier, which I'm all for that. It's about the commitment to yourself, showing up for you even when you don't feel like it.
Hmm. Yeah, I always say that my workout is my first appointment of the day. And if I my workout doesn't happen till later in the day, I feel my mood is different. I feel everything about me feels different. My brain doesn't function the same way. And maybe I just tell myself that because the morning is when I put the most priority to put this in. But once I get that first workout in, I feel energized. I feel accomplished. I feel really good about myself that I if I take care of myself, I am better at taking care of other people, right? And so that might for me, fitness, getting my workout in, that's my first appointment of the day. So I love that we included this in here. Now the next one is family. Super, super important to me. Family is literally everything. So tell me more.
Hmm. I've learned that when it comes to family life, it's usually very complicated, especially when I'll talk about our family of origin, like the family we were raised in. You don't get to pick that, right? You don't get to pick your parents, you don't get to pick your siblings, your aunts, your uncle. You don't get to pick any of those things,
Hmm.
right? So a lot of times there was generational curses and traumas passed down. Um, like it was passed down to me. I didn't even realize it. I just inherited it, right? Thought it was normal. And then I grew up, got married, I had children, I had my own family now. And I think family can do one of two things. And you have to be very careful. I learned as I got married, had kids of my own, that I had to be extremely intentional about deciding which things from my childhood I wanted to take into my adulthood. Because early on, I took everything in from my childhood to my adulthood. I brought it all into my marriage. I brought it all into raising my children. And not all those things were good. So I learned when it comes to family, whether you had the greatest parents in the world, or you had no parents that were around or non-existent or abusive, whatever the case may be. Find the good from your childhood and then bring that into your adulthood. And take the wrong things or negative things that your parents did or didn't do and leave them behind. But it's not until you intentionally choose those two things can you actually produce a family that's healthy. Because if not, you're just going to keep repeating a cycle. And if the cycle was broken, repeating it will not fix it. That's why I decided I was like, there's certain things that my parents did well that I appreciate. I will continue that on. There's certain things I didn't. I need to let them go. And it's
Mhm.
knowing which ones to bring forward and which ones to leave behind.
Yeah. I often talk about, um, when you're watching anyone in life, really, you can learn what you want to do or what to do, and then you learn what you don't want to be like or don't want to do, or right. So when I'm watching my parents as I grow up, they were, just the same. There's a lot of things, and I learned no matter what. I learned from even my peers, but learning, like you said, from your parents, and the things that you want to intentionally uh, cultivate and create with your family. And then there's those things that, I find myself, slipping sometimes, where, you know, my family was pretty loud. Sometimes, the words we used were um, not positive or not constructive, just like you had a teacher that told you that you didn't have a future in college, right? And maybe somewhere in the back of that teacher's mind they had a thought of doing or saying something good, right? But the intention and what they actually said didn't really match up. One of the things that I know that I heard my parents say a million times is, do as they say, not as I do. And I'm like, I can't. I have a really hard time getting behind that, especially now, because I know how important it is for me to be an example of what I want my children to do, what I want my students to do. And that is a very, very fine line and very hard path. But I think that we can always learn from everybody, learning what to do and learning what not to do, and letting those things, like you said, just kind of fade away and fall away. Um, so let's talk about friendship, family to friendship.
Friendship is going to be one of the strongest influences of any human's life. I believe that your life moves in the direction of the friends that you hang out with. And if you're not intentional, that could be the wrong direction. I've noticed that every single time that I have leveled up in business or in my personal life, certain friends have followed me and joined me on the journey, and some of them have felt completely off, and that's okay. And I think that once you continue to rise in different levels of success and impact, it's going to reveal different friendships for you. Ultimately, though, I believe that having the right friends will push you forward. They will never hold you back. They won't judge you. They won't criticize you. They won't make fun of your dreams. They will support you the entire
Mhm.
way. And a lot of times, as you continue to pursue this level of success, it's going to reveal who your friends are, who your friends aren't. And that's why I love having the right friends, because it makes room for the wrong friends to be eliminated. Because a
Mhm.
lot of times I realized as soon as I made the shift to entrepreneurship, my whole friend group changed dramatically. And that just revealed to me like who are the people that really have my best intentions no matter what profession I choose. And that shouldn't matter. Or whether I'm a janitor or a CEO, if you're my friend, be my friend. But it can reveal a lot of their motives and intentions. And so I always tell people like you do become like the friends you hang with, for better or for worse. And make sure that you identify the qualities and characteristics of the friends that you want to have, and then pursue those relationships with intention.
Mhm. Yeah, I love the conversation on friendship and relationship, because um, looking back, just like you in high school, I had friends that ended up going to jail, got into drugs, were in gangs, all the wrong stuff, right? The direction that I knew I did not want to follow that path, and I knew I had to get out of that, that environment, with those people. And then, as I started my career in martial arts, I was surrounded by, a very tight group of people, but most of them were at a certain level of their business. And I knew that I wanted more. And so I had to go out and create relationships and find the people, the coaches that I took on and the mentors that I have in the martial arts industry. you know when I started surrounding myself with those people, man, things started to really change. And I'll be honest too, every time I leveled up, it was so uncomfortable because it wasn't who I thought I was or who I thought I should be, right? And as I continue to grow older, and the friends, a lot of the friends that I have now are not the friends I had 20, 30 years ago. I didn't even know some of these people, but the people that I'm surrounded with me now, I feel like do all the things that you say. They encourage my dreams, they encourage my growth, uh, almost so much so that they push me to that next level and believe in me to go to that next level even before I do. But I will say that I'm also very proud that I have, you know, three friends, three friends that I had in high school that I still have a really great relationship with now, and how we've grown over the years and the memories that we've shared. Some of the memories that we shared are memories that I'll take with me my whole life, and I'll cherish those memories, those good times, right? And those true friends have seen the good, the bad, the ugly. They've seen the failures. They've been there for the triumphs. But there's also been a lot of people that have fallen away because they see where I'm going and they don't want to go there, or they see, uh, I see where they're going and I don't want to be there, right? And so, again, the whole friendship and relationships thing is, I think, one of the most important things, in addition to family, family being number one for me, my friends. And we're going to talk about the next one, which is your faith.
I don't believe anything happens without faith. I believe, you know, people have their own definitions, their own ideas, what they believe in, who they believe in. For me, my faith is in God. My faith is in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That's where my faith is, and I believe that faith is quite literally just taking action without knowing the complete results. And sometimes people think, you got to have complete certainty to have faith. No, you don't. I believe you got to have faith at 51%. That's it. To me, that's the only probability you need. 51% that this is going to work out. That's faith. And we all have different levels and degrees of faith and how we live that faith out. I think one of the greatest ways to live faith out is to do quite literally two things that I have read, and that is to love God, you love people, and how you treat people is a clear example of what you believe in. Like, to me, I can tell what someone believes in based on how they treat people. Like, that shows me what kind of faith that you have. Who is your God? Because no matter if you're an atheist or whatever you believe in, everybody has a God. A God is just something that you put as number one in your life. And just hope that your number one in your life is going to carry on for the rest of your life and eternal life. And I believe that faith is something that no matter what we believe, it's a part of our everyday thing. I think it takes faith to, when you go to start your car, when you turn the key over, it's going to start. That's faith. We all have different levels of faith. And to me, my faith is the core foundation of everything that I do. Without my faith, I would not have started the business. Without my faith, I wouldn't have got married. I wouldn't have had kids because I didn't know the result. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I had this strong conviction and belief that I knew that it'd all work out. Even if I wasn't 100%, I still had this belief. And I think sometimes we want to have this 100% certainty before we take action. And that's not faith.
Mm-hmm.
Faith, sometimes there's going to be a little bit of doubt. And that's okay, as long as you still decide to take action anyways.
Isn't this so true so often with people that have an idea for a business, or an idea to write a book, or an idea for something, but they fail to start because they don't see that next phase. They don't see that next step. So I don't know if I want to take that jump. What is your what is your suggestion to people in that situation where they've got all this energy, they've got this idea, but they don't have the faith because they don't see the next step? What do you say to them?
I would say, first and foremost, that the chances of you being born is 1 in 400 million. What are the odds? 1 in 400 million is the likelihood that you're born. And that tells me that every person has tremendous value, incredible worth, and is priceless. And a lot of times I believe what destroys the faith of people to take action is because they forget how rare and special they are. And they're caught up with the opinions. What are they going to say? What are they going to think about me? And faith just chooses to love and to act anyways. And if you're feeling stuck, remember, your faith can take you further than you could ever take yourself.
Wow. That was pretty deep, because when you talk about 480 million and then you talk about how special people are, sometimes people really do have a hard time seeing that because of the opinions of others, because of the doubters, the haters, all we get so caught up. I mean, social media, right? Isn't that everybody's the first thought most people are going to put before they even post something on social media is, how many likes am I going to get? Are people going to read this? Will people share it? Right? And so that is truly a killer for people, that we're so focused on the opinions of other people rather than seeing the true value in ourselves. So let's talk about the last one, forgiveness.
It's the hardest one. I think sometimes people believe that if they forgive someone, they've excused their behavior, they let them off the hook, and the other person wins. Forgiveness has nothing to do with the person who has wronged you, hurt you, or offended you. It has nothing to do with them. It does have everything to do with you. And when you choose not to forgive, you are literally choosing to allow their bad decisions to remain in your heart. Now, how much success can you really have choosing to live with bitterness everywhere that you go? Because everywhere you go, you bring you with you. And if you have unforgiveness with you, you carry that into every relationship, to every business meeting, to every interaction. It carries into your bank account. It carries into your health. Because unforgiveness rots a person's being. And once you decide to release that person, yeah, maybe they don't deserve it. They probably don't, but you deserve it. You deserve forgiveness. Even if that person never apologizes, even if they never acknowledge what they did was wrong, when you decide to forgive them anyways, you free yourself from something that was meant to trap you. And if you don't ever forgive, you will forever be trapped.
Well, thanks for going down the line and just touching all these. I just want to read these for people that are watching. And if you're just tuning in now or you're watching it a little late, go back about 20 minutes, because we talked about fun, focus, finance, fitness, family, friendship, faith, and forgiveness. And this is what your first book was about, correct?
Correct.
Now, if you say that that's the first, how many books have you written?
So I had that one come out. Then the next book came out, was titled Losing Faith, Finding Hope. That was the second book. The third book was Where Did My Love Go? That's a children's book that I wrote recently. That came out last year. I wrote that with my daughters. So now they're published authors as well. So that was a really fun project. And then my wife and I just came out with an anthology book. We were contributing authors to this book. Me and her wrote a chapter together. It's called Your Relationship Roadmap. That was a fun project because we actually got to write that together. So all in all, that's 4.
Awesome. And I'm sure that all of these can be found on Amazon.
Oh, absolutely.
Cool. So anybody watching, go check those books out. I know that I will definitely look them up. Now let's talk a little bit more about your coaching and your speaking and what Merge Worldwide is all about, and what does the future hold for you?
Yeah, for me, speaking on stages is one of the greatest ways to inspire, to influence, to impact. And when I get the opportunity to, whether it's at our retreats or our speaker competitions, creating a safe place for entrepreneurs to share their story and their message, quite literally transform their lives and the people in that room. That's what I love to see. And then when it comes to the coaching pieces, a lot of people have aspirations to speak on stage. They just don't have the structure. They don't have the guidance. They don't have the coaching. And so they get on stage and they just deliver a message because they're all motivated, not realizing that there's certain things that you can say to improve that message and really impact and move the audience.
Hmm. What are some of your top tips when you're talking with speakers for the very first time before they get up on stage?
Well, I could tell you what not to do. I'll start there.
Okay.
Don't get on stage and say, "Hey, hello, my name is, thank you for having me." No one cares. They don't care. And people can lose the audience in the very beginning because your introduction, the very first thing that you say is the thing that the audience typically remembers the most. The first thing you say and the last thing you say. So the first thing you say needs to be memorable, and the last thing you say needs to be memorable. Always remember that. If you can make sure that your bookends of your speech are very impactful, then you can deliver a more compelling message. But a lot of speakers, they get caught up in the beginning and the end, and they don't deliver value to the audience, and therefore they can lose their attention.
So that's one not to do. Give me a good what to do specifically. Structuring your presentation.
A good thing to do on stage, this is going to sound so simple. It's quite literally eye contact. Now, speakers will sometimes do what's called a vertical, which they will look up and they will look down. Typically, a speaker will look up when they're trying to think of what they're going to say next, or a speaker will look down because they're nervous and insecure and they don't feel valuable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they'll look down out of nervousness and insecurity, right? When typically, if they just side sweep everybody in the room horizontally, back and forth, middle, left, right, that's going to make the audience trust you more. It's a very simple tactic that almost no speaker does because they underestimate little things like that. But to be a professional, it's these little things that separate you from the average. And so when you keep the eye contact consistent by sweeping across the room, people in that room feel like you're specifically talking to them. That's why eye contact is so important.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can say from experience with pro wrestling and with martial arts instruction. I mean, that's such a key point right there is eye contact. When I'm in the ring and I can make eye contact with one fan that's watching, they feel like they're in it now. And sometimes even if you're watching pro wrestling on TV, you feel like they're looking at you and you feel, sucked into that moment. But also being on the mat and teaching a martial arts class, as a coach and as an instructor, without making eye contact with each individual student, I'm just teaching to the masses, but I'm not necessarily connecting. And I think that that's what eye contact really does is it helps you to connect deeper with the audience. Now, where did you get your experience, or who was your mentor? Who was your coach when it came to speaking?
I had quite literally spent so many hours. I just started on YouTube. I quite literally would research people. I would watch their movements, what they would say, what they would do. I would just quite literally just research, and then I would read books on speaking. I would research like crazy. Then I would go implement it. And then
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I got to find a coach and then, find people to connect with who could teach me, how to be a coach and speak and all these things because I'm like trying to do it yourself. It's just always the longest way possible. I live by the saying, if you want to go faster, hire a master. And it works. No matter what industry you're in, just hire someone who's already been where you're at. Invest the money, invest the time. It's always going to be worth it because that investment is for you. And you got to stop betting on other people and start betting on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, tell me about the events that you hold. You hold a couple events every year, or several events each year.
Yeah, we host our speaker competition, which we actually have that coming up like 3 weeks from now, Niagara Falls, Canada, September 23rd to the 24th. And then we have our legacy retreat, which we just did that in Italy back in July.
Awesome. And what else is coming up for you? What else is in the future for Emerge Worldwide?
Yeah, I mean, we have a speakers retreat that we're actually planning. That'll be international as well. And so we have some things coming up for couples that we're going to be launching here, my wife and I together. I see a lot of couplepreneurs that struggle with maintaining the family life and the business life, right? And it's just finding a way for them to work in harmony. And so we got that coming down the pipeline very soon.
Awesome. Well, that's excellent. Well, I appreciate you being on the show today and some powerful lessons. Again, if you're just watching here at the end, you're watching it live, go back, rewatch the video. Do us a favor, share the video, go to YouTube, subscribe to Master Motivation Podcast so you guys can see some more of the amazing guests that we've had on here. But Jesse, I appreciate your time. It was a long time coming. I think you as many people thought, why are you asking me about the end of 2023? And this was back in 2022 that I had asked you, but it was well worth the wait, and I've enjoyed having this chat. And I look forward to future chats as well and seeing what else you're doing out there. Any closing remarks or closing message for everyone watching?
Yeah, for the people out there, understand that you've been put here for a reason, and it's only up to you to figure out what that reason is. And once you discover it, it is your moral obligation to go do something and make a difference in the world with the gifts you've been given.
Great message to finish with. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Hang out for just a minute. I'll be right back. But guys, thank you for watching Master Motivation today with Jesse Cruz. Go check out his books online. You can find them as Amazon. Remind me the names of the books, each one.
Live Your Dash, Losing Faith, Finding Hope, Where Did My Love Go, and Your Relationship Roadmap.
And where can they find you on social media or on any website?
Yeah, Facebook's usually the best way to connect with me, Jesse Cruz, or Instagram, Jesse Cruz Speaks.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, again, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thanks for taking the time. Look forward to connecting again in the future. And want to remind everybody, go out there and make a difference, because you can make a difference in the world. So thank you again, Jesse. Appreciate it.